Welcome back to Between the Scene podcast. My name is Peter, and I'm joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Aaron Butera.
What's up, guys? Today we're going to be talking about The Machinist, a 2004 film directed by Brad Anderson, starring Christian Bale. So this one is a really good movie that I feel like not everyone has seen. It's also there's a big spoiler, so we're going to be discussing it in depth. So if you still haven't seen it, I would recommend stopping the video and then watching it beforehand, and then coming back so you can hear all those nice juicy details that we know you
Yep,
all love.
yep. Before we get into it, if you haven't already, make sure you like the video, comment of what you want us to do next, like the audio or download the audio if you're on
Mhm.
Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Music, or wherever you're listening to us. Uh,
Don't forget to
Subscribe or
click the
follow.
notification bell so you're
Yes,
updated on every upload.
yeah, subscribe or follow and hit that notification bell. And again, like Aaron said, spoiler alert. If you haven't seen it, go watch it and
Hmm.
come back to us. All right. Without further ado, let's dive into it.
So, The
Um,
Machinist. This movie
yep,
is pretty heavy. For those of you who haven't seen it, it's a pretty dark film. It has a dreary tone to it. It's a psychological thriller. I wouldn't call it a pure horror movie, although there are
yep,
some horror elements into it, like a lot of psychological thrillers. But it follows the character of Noah Resnick, we're introduced to him at the beginning. The first scene, you see him kind of rolling a carpet with a body in it, with very little explanation, and it's kind of cuts to him looking out the window, and it's like in a reflection, and then you see his life where he kind of has a dreary life. He just goes home alone to his apartment. He's seeing this woman of the night who's kind of like his only friend, and then he just goes
yep,
to work and he works at this machinist shop where they're just working with heavy machinery, and
y-
he's not
yep.
well liked by his coworkers. You can tell right off the bat.
Right.
And
I do want to correct you. It is Trevor. It's Trevor, not Noah.
did I say that?
Yeah,
I
it's all
used
right.
I used to know a guy named Noah Resnick.
Uh,
I probably mixed the two up. Sorry about that.
is he a machinist?
No, he's not. He's not. Apologies. So Trevor Resnick.
Yeah.
And he starts seeing these notes left around his apartment,
Yep.
and he's kind of at first he just kind of throws them away. Then he's like, "What's going on?" And the whole time he has not slept. Later in the movie, he reveals that he hasn't slept in an entire year.
Yep.
It's been a whole year, so his mind is he can't really tell what's real and what's not. His mind is kind of on the brink. And then he starts seeing this character named Ivan.
Hmm.
And quickly we realize, is Ivan even real? Because Ivan causes him to have an accident at the machinist shop. Like he's standing in the back and distracts him while he's working on a machine. And he hits the button and the machine starts going off with one of his coworker, what's his name? Miller. His
Yeah.
coworker Miller, his arm is in the machine and his arm ends up getting sliced off.
Yep.
So they're saying, "What were you doing? Like, why were you distracted?" He's like, "Oh, it was Ivan. He was just, looking at me in the pit." And they're like, "Who's Ivan? There's no
Right.
Ivan that
Right.
works here."
Yeah.
And then it kind of all starts tumbling down from there. Like his entire, even though his life wasn't that great to begin with, his life starts falling apart.
Yep.
And there's an overarching sense that something happened, something is not right, something in his past, something that is not what it seems.
Right.
And slowly but surely we get revealed, even with I guess I should mention his other friend, other than that woman of the night, is this woman in a coffee shop at the airport that he comes
Yep.
in and kind of just talks to her. He'll tip her like twenty
Yep.
dollars for a nice conversation. And then on Mother's Day, she invites him to come with her to the amusement park with her little boy,
Uh-huh.
and they go on a ride called Route 666. And that's when I think a lot of the foreshadowing there's
Really
foreshadowing
kicks in.
throughout the movie, but there is a
Yeah.
ton inside that ride.
Yeah. That the carnival or amusement park, that's when it really just slaps you in the face, trying to get you to like
Hmm.
get some clues.
Yeah, so after that, he starts to realize everyone's against him, like he sees the notes, he sees a similar note inside the apartment of the coffee girl. Then he sees the picture with Ivan in his girlfriend's house or girlfriend's apartment.
Yep.
So he's like, everyone's against me, everyone's against me. And he's like, he finally decides, I'm gonna get this Ivan guy. It must be Ivan. He thinks it's the ex-girlfriend of the girl he's seeing, or
The
ex-boyfriend,
ex-boyfriend. Yeah.
ex-boyfriend rather. And he follows him, gets his license plate, and finally goes to the DMV and tries to get the name or the address. And they say, well, we can't do that unless there's been like some type of
A
crime,
crime.
like a hidden run.
Yep.
So
Yep.
he basically fakes a hidden run. Well, he doesn't fake it. He actually gets himself hit by a car so he could say, "Hey, I got hit by a car. This is the car who
Yep.
did it." And he waits, and they're like, "Hey, that's your license plate number. You said you totaled that car a year ago." And I think at that point, like, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think he's aware, or do you think he shut the memory off throughout the movie?
Um,
I kind
I
of think he
think
shut the memory off because it was
yeah,
too much for him.
I think it's hidden into the recesses of his mind. To the point where like trauma victims usually do end up covering up memories of past trauma
Yep.
events, and I think that's what happened to Christian Bale or Trevor.
Yes.
I think he purposely, or not even purposefully. I think he just ended up being so traumatized by the accident, um, that, or he, for people who I guess haven't seen the movie,
Mm-hmm.
well, it doesn't matter. We said spoiler alert.
Yep.
Um, by the accident he caused, I think he kind of just hid those memories from himself. So keep going with your storyline.
So yeah, we left off. He's running from the police.
Yep.
He go. That's actually when. So I kind of mixed up the details a little bit. After he runs away from the police and he needs a place to stay, he thinks they're going to be looking for him at his apartment. He goes
Yep.
to his girlfriend's place and he's like, "You're in on it too." And sometime after that, he goes back to his place. He sees Ivan and what's the name of the little boy that was the the
Um,
son of the coffee shop girl?
Patrick, no. Steven, no.
Either way, he sees him and the little boy, Ivan and the little boy, and he goes into his apartment and he thinks, "Oh, Ivan killed him," and they get into a fight and he slits Ivan's throat.
Oh,
But before then,
Nicholas.
yes, but
Yeah.
before then, Ivan says, "I just love the little notes you've been leaving yourself. Those funny little notes. It just
Yeah.
kills me."
Yeah.
Did you hear that part?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's another big hint there. And it's kind of a great sequence. Like he slices his throat, and then he rolls him up in a big carpet, and then he goes to like the dock or whatever, to the bay to throw away the
Yeah.
body. And you see someone with a flashlight following him, and he tries to throw him in, and as he rolls the carpet, I just love that shot. You see the
It,
body, and it's
on.
rolling, and then it's nothing. And then the
Yeah.
guy with the flashlight is actually Ivan. And I
Yeah.
think soon after that was the point he realized he goes back home and then he fills out that he's playing it basically with the little notes. They're playing a game of hangman where
Yeah.
you see ER and he
He.
thinks it's mother, and then he gets ILL Miller, the guy he worked with. He's the one that's doing it all, and then finally he replaces it with a K. And I think it's kind of cool when he's reaching for the, like, he has a thing of like all the pens and pencils, and he's at first
Yeah.
he reaches for
He
a pencil
chooses.
like he's doing,
Yep.
but then he chooses the permanent marker. He knows
Right.
that's what it
Right.
is. He writes killer. He knows and then there's the flashback where you see everything that happened.
Yeah. Go into the flashback because we didn't explain exactly what he did.
So he basically ran over a mother and their little girl, right? And
Boy.
a little boy, and
Yeah.
you see him as he was before he was skinny, just normal Christian
Yep.
Bale.
Yep.
And you see him. It's in the car that Ivan has that he's been following this whole time.
Yep.
Which also that makes me think for sure that he completely suppressed the memory because he couldn't recognize that until then. right?
Yeah.
That he was following
Yeah.
his own old car.
Right.
So then he realized it's all me, and he decides that to finally turn himself in and seek justice. So he goes back to the police station, um, reports the hit and run, and the last scene is him being walked to his jail cell, and he's like, I'll cooperate, I'll tell everything, just let me have some sleep." And I think
Yeah.
that was really powerful. That once he was able to finally admit his wrongdoing and turn himself in, that gave him the peace that he needed to sleep.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think it's a very powerful ending,
Yeah.
and the whole way
Give
through this
give
movie is a wild ride.
yeah. Yeah. It is a psychological thriller. It's got some elements of horror. Um, it is an hour and 41 minutes long, and it it throughout the whole movie you see Christian Bale as a 110-pound man. So it really is kind of like in a sense disturbing to see him so tiny and fragile looking,
I
and
think we should touch on the actual behind the scenes what Christian Bale went
yeah,
through, because it was an extremely physical role, which is not
yeah,
easy to do. That requires a lot of preparation.
yeah,
And
he
I think
went from
yeah, it was
sorry, go
reported
ahead.
that no, yeah, it's fine, but it was reported that he would eat a can of tuna and an apple per day, and that's
Yep.
it.
Yeah,
So it
he
was
went from 178 pounds or something to 111 pounds. I don't know the time frame of when that is, but I know that's still very unhealthy.
I think it was at least a year.
It should be at least a year. That if he
Yeah,
did that in a couple months, that would have been very, very unhealthy. And
extremely unhealthy.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I heard he wanted to
So
go down lower, like he wanted to be 100
yeah,
pounds, but the director was
yeah.
actually like concerned that he would um, majorly impact his health and he'd be
Right,
like in
right.
danger.
Yeah, and he's at this point he's so malnut. Why can't I say the
Malnourished.
word
Malnourished, right?
malnourished? I could not say that. He's so malnourished that during the running scenes, couldn't. He was struggling with those running scenes because there was so little muscle to work on. He was so skinny and bony, and um,
Hmm.
it goes to the point where these actors and actresses they do a lot to get into these roles.
Yeah.
They sacrifice a lot to be able to fit the character and the design of the character.
I always see it like if he read like before he got the role, he was probably read the plot and a little bit of the script and everything like that, so
Yeah.
he was aware of the movie. I don't think he would have put himself through that if he didn't really believe this was going to be a really good
Right.
movie that was
Right.
worthwhile to do that.
Yeah.
Because he could have
Yeah.
easily
Yeah.
gotten a role in a different movie that didn't require that, but he
Yeah.
decided to put himself
Well,
through that for the art, which is
speaking
impressive.
of different roles, he
Batman,
was
that's
able to put
probably, don't know if you
yeah, he was
guys heard
able to
of
put
Batman, but that's a big one.
yeah.
The Dark
he
Knight,
was able to he was able to put all that weight back on within I would say probably less than a year, less
that
than
which
half a
is
year.
insane. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it's much easier to put on weight than lose it, but um, it
In a healthy way.
it
He didn't just get like there wasn't a fat Batman. Like he he gained it in a healthy way, which is pretty crazy. Like if you watch The Dark Knight, you can't tell. Oh, that's Trevor Resnick.
yeah,
The two don't
right,
even look alike at all.
right, right. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, watching the movie, it's kind of unsettling to see someone go through that, and you really do connect with the character to the point where even at the end, you feel sorry for him, even though he has committed a terrible crime, hit and run, killing a kid,
Hmm.
and lying about it for a year. So let's go into the kid and his mother. What do they play in this movie?
Like what role do they play?
Yeah, for toward like what do they how do they connect with Trevor?
Well, the role they play is like they're kind of reminding him in a way of the of his of what he did. So the whole thing with the woman and the coffee, and then he also mentions about his dad leaving, and then
Yeah.
they left. So like there was some connection with the little boy and him.
Yep.
Um, but I think they're kind of just reminders of his past and of
Yeah.
what happened, pretty much. I think they're kind of just symbolizing his guilt.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. No, exactly. I think they're
Hmm.
just symbols for the guilt that he's feeling, and um they do a really good job of like till till the end when they reveal what happened, keeping those figures realistic and alive, um
Did you
instead of
expect it to
making
be
them.
in his head? I didn't expect her to be in his head. It seemed
Yeah,
pretty
because
real.
exactly, they did a
Hmm.
good job of keeping it realistic and all that. If they were to go down a route where, like, when he took a picture of them in the at the carnival, like if they kind of look ghostly, that would have been like, I feel like that would have taken away from the ending. So
But
like
did you
again,
did you
they
see towards the ending when he's looking through a scrapbook of his old pictures that it was he had like the same picture of him and his mom?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Um
it could be just another part of part of his memory just kind of manifesting itself onto these people.
right.
Hmm.
Right. Right. Um Going on to his girlfriend, um she's obviously an important character. It's
Yeah.
really his only friend, and um, she is pretty much a woman of the night. So she is a prostitute, and
So he's kind of paying
they,
her, but she always says like, "You're my favorite. You can stay here whenever you want." So
yeah, it's
they kind of
it's
have a
more of
weird
like
relationship.
yeah, it's like a friendship. It is a weird relationship. I would not want to be in that boat.
Yeah.
uh, um, but yeah, her character development's interesting too. She goes from uh having a lot of clients and all that to getting physically abused to
Hmm.
wanting to like almost marry Trevor.
Yeah, because at one
Um
point she's like, "I'm gonna give up this life and like
yeah,
we'll make it right."
yeah. Um
The
so
whole
like
time I think
this
you. Oh, sorry to cut you off.
no, go for it. Go
The
for it.
whole time I think you mentioned this before that you feel sorry for him. Like he's a pretty
Yeah.
sympathetic character, even though he did do that bad thing. But you
Yeah.
can almost like put yourself in your like if that happened to you, would your mind try to shut it off? Because that's like I feel like he wasn't like he didn't know that he did it and was lying about it per se, but like it's like his brain just could not accept it and it just shut
Right.
it off and it prevented him from sleeping and caused all those problems. But it's not like he was like, I know I did this, but I want to like make lie and make sure no one knows. It's just like he couldn't
Right.
even remember it because it was so traumatic.
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah, like that's that's why even after you find out what happened to him, I still feel sympathy for him, you know?
And I feel like
Um
finally like he could sleep. Like it feels
right,
very
right.
there's a lot of like almost you feel relief for him in a way
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
end.
Um so going back on this idea that all these characters in this movie have pretty much broken lives. Um like you have Miller, who is now handicapped. You have
Yeah.
Trevor, who can't sleep, and you have lost his job. You have um the woman of the night. Her name is Stevie. I had to
Stevie.
look that up. Yeah. Her name is Stevie, and she is
She's being
obviously not.
abused, yeah.
She's being abused. She's obviously not having a good time.
Hmm.
And then you also have the memories of the hit and run victims, uh, who is a single mother, a child without a father, um, and all that. So I think this movie has a really just grim but realistic view on a lot of people's lives. Like
Yeah, it has
this
a
movie,
gritty quality.
right? Yeah,
Like even though it's so dreamlike, like the scenes inside of the machinist shop with like
Yeah.
his coworkers just seems like so real, like so gritty, like the way they talk to
Yeah.
each other. It's like I don't know.
It's like you need
There's
to it's like you need to take a shower after watching those scenes.
like it looks so dirty, and there's just like
Yeah.
get back to work, get your ass to work. Like it's just like there's such a gritty, almost like industrial feel to it, and like you're just in this grimy city and or something like that. It has that feel. Um,
Yeah.
what do you think is the purpose? Like the movie is called The Machinist, and he works as a machinist, and that's a big part is
Um
his job. Do you think there's any purpose to that?
that's a good question. There's like as a filmmaker myself, not like super known, but
Hmm.
um as someone who does film work, um every single thing that goes into a movie is purposeful.
Yes.
Every single thing. So the title being called The Machinist, let me think. Maybe, well, in machines there's a lot of broken pieces.
Oh,
So maybe the broken pieces of his mind and his memories could play on the term machinist. Um
I'm also
it could
thinking
be
back to like the beginning and throughout the movie, like the first note that he finds with the hangman under it is "Who are you? Who are you?"
uh-huh.
And I guess like he doesn't even know who he is. He's like he hasn't
Yeah.
slept for a year, and he just I just go to work and go home, and I can't sleep. And he's just the machinist.
Yeah.
Um, it's kind of like a lack of identity, maybe. He just identifies as
Okay.
his job, maybe. I still haven't
Yeah.
fully figured that one out, but that could be it. And then finally, he's like, I'm a killer at the end when
Yeah.
he answers that question, "Who are you?" But that's the
Yeah.
first thing that the note says. It asks, "Who are you?"
Let me ask you, this is going away from the question, but
Yeah.
let me ask you, what do you think the importance is of the bleach?
Oh, I didn't bring that up. That's a good point. I think he's trying to cleanse himself of the memory. That's what I thought when I
Uh-huh.
was watching. He's trying to cleanse himself of the guilt and the memory and everything. So that's why he's. If you notice, he's constantly cleaning. He's constantly washing his hands. He's bleaching the floor.
Yeah.
Um, and then physically, like blood starts pouring out of his refrigerator. It's getting on the floor. It's like, and throughout the movie, it gets there's more and more, and it's
Yeah.
just the guilt is building and building. And I think the
Right.
purpose of the bleach was to just complete. He was trying to clean himself of all of
Yeah.
that, of all the memories of what he did and all the guilt.
Yeah.
I think that's what it
Yeah.
was trying to go
When
for.
uh when I first watched this movie, when I first saw the bleach and he was washing his hands, for some reason in my head I put that connected with him being so small and like
Hmm.
kind of like unhealthy. So when I was watching this movie for the first time, I thought like something it was about like either a drug addict or like um a germaphobe or something like that, or someone who's just trying to lose weight or be
Hmm.
unhealthy. But yeah, going throughout the movie, you kind of realize what's going on. Um, but I do like that little subtle note of the bleach and cleansing himself from his past mistakes.
Yeah.
I thought that was a nice touch. Um, like even in the bar, he picks up a cleaning product and just washes. Like he's really just trying to cleanse himself.
Like in the bathroom. Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember
but
that.
I don't think that's really healthy to put that on your skin. But
No, it's not. But he washes his hands with bleach.
yeah. um. So I'm just curious. What's one of your favorite shots or scenes from the movie?
One of my favorite all-time shots from this movie is when he encounters Ivan, and he
Yep.
goes on break, and there's just something
The
ominous. There's
camera
something
just
so
goes up and you can see him like barely through Trevor's window.
yeah, and there's just that whole like you could just I don't know, you could physically feel his tiredness. Like there's seriously been times that I've went on break at work and I sat in my car and I was like, oh man, and I think about this movie and that scene of when Trevor's just
Yeah.
like almost like passing out with a cigarette in his mouth and he's like
Yeah.
about to fall asleep, and then Ivan speaks up and comes to his car, and
Yeah.
then I just picked up Reynolds shift. Um, that whole part, that shot with his face, just I even the first time I saw it, I was like, this guy, like I don't know, like this is some I could tell like something's about to go down with this guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
M-
I think it's just
My
a
favorite,
fantastic shot.
yeah, my favorite. I think for talking about scenes, I think my favorite scene would be the Route 666 roller coaster ride,
Hmm.
just because it plays so heavy on foreshadowing and um little clues that the audience needs to like start piecing things together. Um, I
That's a
like
good one.
that, and then as for shots, um, I like all of the shots where it's like the camera's behind the machine and you can see all the
Hmm.
workings of the machine and you see Trevor's face trying to fix things. Um, I like those shots a lot.
Hmm.
Very artsy, very artsy. Um, but yeah, I like the scene where they're in the carnival and they're on that ride
Yeah.
because it does a lot to add to the story and really bring some clues in for the audience because you can't just if this movie didn't have all these foreshadowing events like it the ending would be kind of like uh, uh, I don't know the term really like underplayed or just
Yeah.
um it wouldn't make much sense. It felt like cheap writing, lazy writing or something.
Hmm.
But that having all these clues, if you were to rewatch it and pick up on all these clues, you'd be like, "Wow, this movie is really trying to get you
Hmm.
to realize what's going on, but you still didn't." That's what makes a good mystery, you know?
And I think that's why I like this movie a lot is because it is not cheap writing. Like I feel like this
Right?
movie actually has pretty well thought out writing, and that's
Yeah,
really where it shines the most is that it's a pretty intricate plot with a lot of clues dropped. Like this movie has a lot of rewatch value because when you rewatch it, there's so many things you can pick up on that you might have missed the first time watching it.
yeah,
Notably going back to that scene in the carnival where they go on that ride. Um, there's a part where they're like before it gets like really intense and freaky. There's like
yeah,
two diverging paths, and one says like the route to salvation, and then one's like the highway to hell. And of
yeah,
course, it turns left down the highway of hell. And rewatching it, I realized that this theme of the diverging roads, just like that, comes up quite a few times in it. Notably, the when he goes to the airport, because that's part of it. He
yep,
goes to the airport to talk to the lady, or so he thinks. Um,
yeah,
there's a scene when he's about to go turn himself in, and it comes up a few where he turns to the there's an exit, then one turn is to the left to the airport and one is to downtown to turn himself
yeah,
in. And he's always been going to downtown, which I guess like avoiding the consequences would be highway to hell, when salvation would be turning himself in. Um,
yeah, yeah,
so there's that diverging road where he always goes left, and then it happens again when he's on the run in the tunnel and there's someone coming with a flashlight, and
yeah.
he can go right to them, but he decides to go left, and try to
Yeah.
escape it
In
again.
in the tunnel when he's running, there's on the left the tunnel is completely dark. There's literally no chance of seeing
Hmm.
anything. On the right, it's all lit up and it looks a lot more pleasant. But he does see someone coming down from that tunnel, so he
And he
gets
can't
scared
take
and
it. Yeah, he
right,
has to keep running.
right.
And I think that
Um,
symbolism is really really good when you pick up on it.
what one thing I didn't like about that scene is right after he goes down that tunnel, it cuts to a shot of him in his truck.
It's like, how did he
I
get
think
there? Yeah.
right, right, and
You
like
just
I
have it's
guess
up
it's
to your
not
imagination, like, oh, he must have
right.
gotten out somewhere.
Yeah,
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 I
smelling
noticed
like
that too.
sewage. Yeah.
I
Uh
guess it's not too important. Like, we really needed to,
yeah,
I guess, see him escape. But I mean, still, you kind of wonder, like, oh, he's just there now. Like, maybe show a
right.
little bit of him, like
It
opening up a manhole or something and getting out.
that or just cut to a different like scene like
Yeah.
like a of different characters or something like maybe cut to a scene of his girlfriend doing something. I don't know. Something to like um cuz the reason why it's so noticeable is the time factor
Hmm.
that it shows a missing of time.
Yeah.
So that's why it was so noticeable, but um going on to what was I gonna bring up? I can't remember exactly.
We were talking about
Um.
that the
Oh,
road
the
and the,
well, before that we were talking about the writing. A
yeah.
couple good parts. Uh, Miller when he's handing or when he's asking Trevor for help, he's like, "Give me a hand," and then he loses his arm. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Um, and then there's a when he's talking to his girlfriend, they're laying in bed. She's like, you look tired. He's like, I haven't slept in a year, and she's
Mhm.
like something about it not being healthy, and then he's like, don't worry, no one's died from insomnia.
Mhm.
That's a line from Fight Club.
Oh, really?
Uh,
I didn't know
yeah,
that.
they use that in Fight Club about who he's also suffering from insomnia.
What year did
Um,
Fight Club come out? Just curious. I think it was before this movie. It
I
had to have
think
been
it,
like 2000,
it
early 2000s.
let me look it up real quick.
That's
Fight
interesting.
Club.
I never picked up on
Yeah,
that.
1999,
Okay.
and The Machinist is 2004. So,
So obviously it's
um,
referencing that.
yeah. Um, and then going back also with the good writing,
Mhm.
his landlord, Mrs. Strike, I think it is.
Mhm.
I think Mrs. Strike. I need to look this up. I'm sorry. Yeah, Mrs. Strike. Um, it's her name is a reference to Nathaniel West's novella Miss Lonely Hearts.
Oh yeah.
Um, which the main character is suffering like spiritual dilemma and is antagonized by demonically by Shrike, his editor. So like being antagonized and just like it matches the whole vibe of the movie. Like he's being antagonized by his thoughts, like
Mhm.
feeling like possessed, feeling like um just not in the right mindset and all that. I think that I love movies that have like little subtle notes, like playing on people's names that
Yeah.
refer to writers or artists or important people of history. I think that's just intelligent writing because you could when I was in film school and I would be in the earlier classes, you would have to write your own little short stories to like film
Mhm.
for practice. The names I chose were like Bob, Sandy, Greg, like nothing that had any importance or like meaning to like the story. You know what I mean? So I thought that was good writing to
Guest
have.
appearance right here.
Oh, look at
Guest
that little
appearance.
kitty.
Yeah,
um,
the last podcast we did on House, that movie had a few of those too, and they're very subtle. Like at the beginning, like the great aunt was named when the guy was coming in with the groceries and Mrs. Hooper, Mrs.
yeah,
Hooper.
yeah,
Probably a throwback to Toby Hooper, because then real subtle when he was moved in, it was like Craven Movers or something like it. It was like
yeah,
Wes Craven,
yeah,
so that was
yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah, it's like it's just a good play on words, play on
Hmm.
names, and it just adds a little color to the story. Um, so going to the big reveal of the movie,
Yeah.
uh, like you notice throughout the movie, especially in the airport, Trevor Resnick is looking at this clock that most airports have clocks that like show you times of different countries,
Hmm.
different time zones. He's looking at this one clock that keeps flickering back from 129, 130, 129, 130, and it's uh really interesting because they did that because the main reveal of what happened actually happens at the 1 minute or 1 hour 30 minute mark.
Ooh.
So the editing that has to go into that to match that up perfectly was pretty awesome. Like having to cut everything just right to fit that. It's just a small little detail. I thought it was pretty cool.
Do you think
Um,
that's why maybe like certain things were cut, like him getting out of the sewer?
that's possible.
Is
That
that
is
is
possible.
I'm just thinking now because I didn't even know that until today. So I didn't know about. I noticed the 130, and I didn't really it didn't occur to me what it meant until now, until you just told me that, which is pretty insane.
Yeah.
Because like
Yeah,
even when
yeah.
he's at the house of the coffee girl, like he looks at the clock at one point, it turns to 1:30. It happens throughout the movie where you notice the clock says 1:30.
Right.
So to have it timed up like that, that's pretty, that like you said, that's pretty insane that they were able to do that. And I'm wondering if certain cuts maybe that's why. Maybe that's why like they cut some things short. Like, well, we don't really need to see that him getting out of the sewer. We could just cut to him in the
Right.
truck and then it saves us this time so we can have it at 1:30. Just a
Yeah.
possibility, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I also forgot to mention going back onto the good writing with the whole play on names and stuff.
hmm
In one scene, you see Trevor reading a book called "The Idiot,"
Yeah.
and there are two characters in that book, named Marie and Nicholas, which is the
Oh.
yeah, yeah, dude. Like it's like these little things that just really add to the story. But
This movie is well thought out. This is a very well
right,
thought out
right.
movie.
Like you said, you could rewatch this and pick up on something new. It's one of those
hmm
kind of movies. Like, did you notice that there's a one scene where he's in the car and you can see these two homeless guys and they're actually they're actually shooting up heroin in real life. They were just in the shot and they were just shooting up heroin in real life.
I did not notice
Uh,
that.
yeah, what Anderson was like he's like, let's just keep it. It matches
It's
the
a
vibe
matches the
of
dark tone of the movie.
right, right.
Was
So
it in
like
the
there
background?
is yeah. Let me look up exactly what's saying.
Okay. I didn't
When
notice that.
Trevor's driving Marie and Nicholas back home, if you look closely through the driver's side window, when Trevor stops, you can see two people sitting in the background. According to Brad Anderson, they were junkies who were actually shooting up heroin during the filming of the scene.
Wow.
Yeah,
Pretty powerful
it's
stuff in this movie. I'm telling you.
yeah, it's sad, and it's sad to see people,
Yeah.
doing that, but it's just interesting to have a movie where you could find something new in it every time you watch it.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah,
Every time I do, I notice a little bit more. Every time I watch it.
yeah,
I've seen it about 5 times at this point, and even
yeah,
I watched it earlier today, and I noticed things I never noticed before.
yeah. So let's go into the budget. It was roughly like 5 million,
hmm
I think. Um, and it didn't do so well. It grossed worldwide at like 8 million, and um it's just one of those movies that not a lot of people really get into because it's not the fastest paced movie,
It's
and
also
nowadays
not
people are
happy.
just
There's no,
looking
yeah, there's no
right,
heroes.
right,
There are no heroes in this movie. It's got a very
yeah,
dark tone. It's not like a feel good. It doesn't end and you're like, yay, I feel awesome. You usually like, wow, I gotta process this. Um,
right, right. It's
I
like
don't
watching
I Yeah, like even Shutter Island, that kind of has a dark tone too. That movie, I'm
yeah,
pretty sure did really well. A lot of people have seen that. Not a lot of people have seen The Machinist, surprisingly, and I
yeah,
think it's one of the more underrated ones because it is a really good movie.
yeah,
I think a lot of people would like it if they saw it, but like not just it's not on a lot of people's radar. So it's
yeah,
interesting why it didn't do that well. Um, I think it definitely could have. Maybe it's marketing. There could be a number of factors, like we just mentioned. The movie itself is not a family. It's not a family motion picture. You gather the little kids
right,
and watch. So it's not
right,
for everyone. You probably already have to have a taste for the dark and the macabre to really enjoy this. But I think that any film lover would be able to appreciate this movie for what it
right.
is.
No, yeah, and it's definitely an art film.
Yes.
It's not a blockbuster. It's 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 really meant to make you think and really really like kind of dig down on your own self and like see like especially in this case like Trevor's feeling so guilty like coming to terms to like confess his sins and so to say
Yep.
like for example I'm Catholic, I go to confession every once in a while and there's something just like Trevor was relieved after he uh um committed or confessed to committing a hit and run, like when I go to confession afterwards, I feel so relieved. Like I could rest like a little baby. Like I could sleep like a little baby, and feel so much better about my
Yep.
life and stuff. So like, there's some good to the end of this movie. It's not like the happiest of endings, but it does give you a sense um of inner peace.
The movie also, I think I mentioned it before with the lighting and the tone of the picture of the film is like very
Yeah,
dark, very like washed out. Up until like
yeah,
the ending is very like the room is just white and it's bright and it's like finally like he's made peace with it, made peace with
right,
himself by
right,
by turning himself in and facing the consequences that he's been shutting off for so long.
yeah,
The room is finally bright. The sunshine is coming in. It ends on a little bit of a bright note.
yeah, yep,
Although it's not
yeah.
exactly like, yeah, like it's not like you cheer it on, but it's like after all that darkness, it's like, all right, he finally got some rest. He finally did the right thing. And I think
Right,
that that is a
right,
positive note.
yeah, yeah.
Just as we wind
Um,
down, do you
yep.
I'm just gonna ask the question, do you think this movie could use a sequel?
I don't think so. I
All right.
personally don't think so. I think it has a good enough ending. Um, yeah, yeah. I would stick to just having the one.
It could get cheapened by the sequel, you think?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think it. I don't think it needs one.
Hmm.
Um, but I do love Christian Bale movies.
Yeah, he's cool.
Yeah, he's a good actor.
He's a really good actor. I think this is
Yeah.
honestly one of his better like not only for the physical side of it, but like
He did win Best Actor for a couple festival circuits.
mhm.
Um, I don't know which ones, but this film won 7 awards and was nominated like 14 times for like best director, best actor, best screenplay, yada yada
I
yada.
could see why like the
Um,
film critics and the film buffs would be really into it, but like the general
right.
people might not have known
Yeah, and
her.
it never won like Emmys or anything. None of the big
Hmm.
film academy, all that. But the smaller film circuits, like it won substantial awards from. So yeah, it is an art film, and it it will make you think.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think that's gonna be it for this episode. Thanks for joining me, Aaron. If you haven't
Anytime.
if you haven't already, leave a like or download the audio if you're on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Music. Follow us and hit that subscribe button or subscribe bell. And then leave a comment of what you want us to do next. We are not getting enough comments, and we are running out of ideas of the endless movie collections. Just
We'll
kidding.
never run out of
Uh,
ideas.
we'll never run out of ideas, but we want
Until we
to
run
be
out of
more.
movies. Until we review
Yeah,
every single movie ever made.
we just want to be more. We want you guys to be more engaged and comment and let us know what you guys want to watch,
Yeah.
so that you guys are more interested in the show. Um, we may be changing our name from Between the Scene Podcast to something else. I've been saying that for a couple weeks now, but we're still in the works on it. And then if you want to be on the show, just let me know. Message me on Instagram, Facebook, anywhere you find me, and then really all you got to do is download Riverside or Skype or Zoom, and
Hmm.
we'll go from there. It's a
Awesome.
fun time, and just pick out an hour of your day, and we'll find something to watch and talk about it. But again, thank you, Aaron, for sacrificing your Sunday evening. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for
Um,
having me.
yeah, man. Alrighty, guys, signing off.
All right. Take care, guys.